can sit here all day.
Right.
So I played games with them, which was I sat there another eternity, which was 5 seconds, maybe more. If that, maybe 10 seconds, but that was like, it felt like a minute.
Then all of a sudden he took off.
The bell lapped, and this is where it will happen. Now you can see Nelson starting to wind it up, make sure the speed is fast.
Every once in a while, a kid from Harlem comes out of nowhere to get to the big stage, the Olympics.
Look at that, high on the
We're going to be taking a look at Nelson Vails, the
like
cheetah.
Shot in behind. Vernet will go high here on the outside, and Vails is fighting him off.
Vails is on the pole lane.
And Vails pedals hard. He's going to win it.
Whoa.
Oh, he came right up and looked him in the eye, and Vails said, "See you around."
This is Dr. Ben Pro. We're going to take a look at Nelson Vails' journey to the Olympics and beyond, and what he's doing now to help with mental health and all his other passion projects. Next, coming up on Fitfoot U.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Ben Pro with Fitfoot U. So today I have actually one of my high school heroes, I would have to say, or coming out of high school, 84. I got out class of 83, so I would have been a freshman when Nelson Vails hit the track for the 1984 Olympics, and he had a Rocky-like story as a kid from Harlem that was a bike messenger and rode his way all the way to the Olympics. So welcome, Nelson. We saw in the prelude the race against, I guess, the Frenchman. Was that the penultimate race?
Yeah, that was the semifinals.
That must have been electric. When you watch that race now, can you remember like every turn in your head without even seeing the video? I mean, just because it was such a memorable thing that, or how does that work with that for you?
Yeah, of course. Winning that race, I always enjoy watching. I'm sure the Frenchman doesn't enjoy watching it, but I remember everything that we went through with that ride. A lot of it, it's like the TV built it up so nicely, but most of it, I had trained. We had our training camps 6 weeks before the Olympics, so a lot of these scenarios, I was already, we were already done some testing and some training, speed scenarios, not getting caught flat-footed, what happens when the guy does a track stand, things like that. So a lot of those things that went on in that semifinal ride or the build up to that ride, our training camps, we had already went through a lot of the motions, almost like what a football team would do practice before meeting up with a team. So I was pretty in tune with every rider I came up with. Again, it's not like the first time we meet because you race all season long in different international events. So most of the riders had already met or raced against each other at some point that spring, that summer, the year before, practice events. But this was an intense moment for the Olympics because the Frenchman was the #1 seed, and pretty much technically he was the fastest guy out there.
Was your bunny hop move up to him typical for track racing at that era, or was that a little closer than one would usually get in a semifinal, and then the length of the track stand?
The bunny hop came at it wasn't a thinking situation, it was a do situation because I had to cross the start finish line to complete my lap, number one. Number two, my feet was already in the 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock position, which gives you steadiness. So the bunny hop just helped me to move up 6 inches just to get across the start finish line. Anyone can do it. So it made it look so spectacular because it's been done so many times before. How's that? I've done it enough, not on the tracks, not just on the track, but in the street, standing still, balance, kids pop wheelies. So it was a second nature for me to bunny hop and sit still. Now, the second question was the length. The length went on because I was comfortable. I wanted the front, but I pretend I didn't want the front. And then it was so long I can sit there because I was so confident. You would call it cocky. I was so confident in my ability for what I have just done, which was the bunny hop, psych number one, psych number two, sit there comfortably with him enough to where when I left, it should have been an aha moment for him. Like, okay, he got me in the front. He got me where he wanted me, but I was where I wanted to be. And that was another scenario that the coach and I talked about of how this particular ride, this particular individual, he likes to come around on the last turn. And it's been working for him every round up until he met me. I anticipated that he was going to try to come around out of the final corner, but by that time, I went up to speed and maintained my speed. So when you try to go faster, it's already too late because the line has already come. Yeah.
What impressed me when I watched the documentary that was made about you called the Cheetah. By the way, when did you pick up that nickname, the Cheetah? When did that come?
That was given to me back in the 80s at the Lehigh County Velodrome, Trexeltown.
Oh, T-Town.
Back in the day. So all the riders, all the Friday night riders, just about everyone had a nickname that Brian Drever had blessed everyone with. And it made for a real interesting time in racing Friday evenings in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I got up there. I think it was for an Olympic trials. I think Rebecca Everling had been a patient of mine, and she was racing against the one who eventually became the Olympic rider that particular year. And I think that was the Atlanta Games is the year that I went up to T-Town. Did you so were you in the racing in the Carney brothers era? Did you race against
they were an age group behind me.
I see.
It was still the same era, but an age group behind me.
Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, but we all came out of the city together, same era.
Uh-huh. And then I guess one of the things I was going to say about the final thing about that semifinal race is I was impressed listening to that documentary about how you had almost engineered every turn in your mind before the race, what you were going to do, how high you needed to be on the track. And I guess I thought, after seeing that, I realized it wasn't that you kind of played it a little bit by ear, but you had a definite strategy that you went in there to execute about where you wanted to be in which turn.
Again, that came from the training building up to the Olympics. Throughout the season, in training races prior to the nationals, but many international races, you find some fine points that you need to fine tune. And for me, it was not getting caught flat-footed. Getting caught flat-footed mean rolling too slow to where they get a jump on you. So I knew to stay high at all times. Stay high and keep your speed high. Don't wait for anyone. Things like that. So all those things was coming to my mind. You don't wait for him to make a move. You initiate the move. You stay high. You keep the speed up. You keep the speed rolling. And basically, in layman's terms, there is no backwards. There's no slowing down with every pedal stroke. You're moving forward, and you're constantly thinking on what you're going to do when you think he's going to do something, but then by that time, it's already too late. So what I mean, back to my saying of what you're going to do, it sounds confusing, but when you think it's too late, every pedal stroke is what you're going to do, what you're going to do, what you're going to do, what you're going to do. If he does this, I'm already going to do this, but you're already a step ahead. So every pedal stroke was he's coming, speed up high. He let me ride high. When you watch it again, you'll see that he allowed me to get my speed up because he was coming after me for the draft. And I knew from there, you go 100% and for the first 100 meters, and then you maintain that 5 seconds for the second 100 meters because they timed the 200 meters. So that was a 10 point something, 10.6 or something outdoors. Today's, it's a 9 something. It's a whole second faster in today's world. That's how fast the kids are going now, a whole second.
What do you think that efficiency is due to, Nelson? The 3/4 second drop.
Can you repeat that?
What do you think that efficiency is due to? The training techniques that they use today?
The equipment is much lighter. The gears are bigger. Yeah, just the whole overall, not only the strength training, but the power output, everything is a little different. It's the same, but it's a little more advanced now, right down to the power food, the meals you need to eat, what you eat on Thursday to fuel you for Friday, Saturday, qualifying, things like that. So all those come into play now.
Now let's go backwards to kind of the heart of your story, which is coming up like a lot of kids do. They get a bike. You're in Harlem. It's you're tooling around on your bike with your friends. At what point do you decide that this racing thing might be fun? I mean, obviously you're probably play racing with your friends, just racing to a point or racing to Central Park. I don't know how it started, but walk me through that and how that came about.
Um, well, all the kids in the area, we all had bicycles. We all rode in Central Park, which was a great playground backyard. Now you had the recreational cyclists, which you do still today in the park, and then you had the bike racing group. And at one point, us as recreational cyclists connected with the bike racing group, but I was able to keep up. So fast forward through all of that. For me, growing up and around all my childhood friends riding bicycles, I leapfrog from right place, right time. Just happened to be riding with a group of cyclists that realized that I was able to keep up with the equipment I had. Things like that. So right place, right time, right person says, hey, come on out, meet us on a Saturday or whatever and ride with us. Things like that. So you learn one pedal stroke to another.
And
Learn how to
you're
sit
about
on
how
the wheel
old at
without
that point,
touching it.
Nelson?
Excuse
How
me?
old, how old when you got that invite to join the
Wow, I was
race
such a
group?
young teenager. Everything was still high school days. We're talking 76,
Mhm.
70, 77s. Yeah, I was still way teenage, 16, 17 years old.
And then,
So
and do you remember when you got your cat license? Do you remember how?
not really. By 1980, 79, I started on the scene kind of 1980. I wasn't even aware of the 1980 Olympic team in Moscow. But by 1980, everything started falling into place, such as um, a nicer bike to ride in Central Park with the Century Road Club. A year later, it became Toga Bike Shop. And I maintained that until my national team years. So the 79 through the 83 was with Toga, Century Road Club, Central Park stuff. Everything was all leapfrog stair steps. Um, and just so happened, I happened to wind up in San Diego, California in 1980. 1980 National Championships in San Diego, California. Lenny Preheim took me out there, and I was introduced to the velodrome on a national level. I was a new kid on the block, New York State sprint champion. You had all the state champions, right? That invited. But I showed up on the scene and won my first 3 rides. Didn't know what I was doing. And I said that in the documentary. I rode my first 3 rides and was blowing off people because, again, it's like tennis, weak against strong. So all these guys took this young kid from New York for granted, and I had speed but no knowledge at the time. So I won my first 3 rounds, and then by that time, tactics came into play against me because I did not know. So people knew how to rein me in, and I was caught in positions where I started losing because they started taking advantage of things I didn't know,
What
such
was
as
Yeah, go ahead.
such as being on the inside. I should have been on the outside. I should have been in the front, not in the back. I should have won. I shouldn't have waited. Things like that. So little tactics, and you learn from that. But that handshake in 1980 introduced me to Eddie B and the national team to get an invitation to an Olympic development national team training camp, which took off in January of 1981, pretty much.
So talk to me a little bit about you're talking about a development program with Eddie Van Gys, or which Eddie are we
Eddie
referring to?
B.
Oh, Eddie
It's a
B.
gentleman by Eddie B.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a national team coach at that time.
Okay. So what was your relationship with him and the team, and what was notable about what he was able to coach you to your potential?
Uh, Eddie B came on. He was part of the national team with wow, a world of knowledge to build an Olympic team that was going to be successful for the national team. It's like a coach coming into college football and rebuild the team. And that's just what he did. He took a lot of young talent and harnessed us all into recognizing our talent as individuals to be the best we could be within each individual event. Granted, I was a sprinter, but you hang out with the road riders, like that. So he was a real mastermind. He had a team around him of doctors, uh, and a lot of smart people, medical people in the sports field, a lot of smart people back in those days that studied a lot to know about our physiology and how to use that. So he took each individual on the team and treated us as individuals. So I think that was our big morale boost for the national cycling team, because he wasn't military that everybody had the same regimen. We trained the same, we rode the same miles, but everyone was still treated as an individual.
Did it get so technical, Nelson, that you ever did like wind tunnel stuff and that kind of drag stuff, or it was more just coaching and of the techniques on the track and just cueing you as to what your position was looking like and that kind of thing?
Back in those days, you had like the ergometer, the VO2 max stuff. So it was that kind of testing we did a lot. But the main part was, having a strength coach and how to utilize that. Even for the road riders, they didn't have to lift as much weights, but they had some strengths and things that they can work on for their road cycling. The distance riders, things like that. So again, those techniques came into play with having a strength coach, a mental health coach. What are you thinking? Why are you thinking this? Someone to talk to, like that. So there was always somebody on hand that you can spill your guts and get something out to get the best out of you. So that was really cool about the national team and the Olympic Training Center in the 80s that built this 84 team.
Did you have a nice kind of ascent then through the 80s, or did you have a couple challenges that you had to overcome in that ascent to get on the Olympic team and then eventually be on the podium?
Ben, that's a real good question, popular question. Um, I think back now at a retired age, I was blessed because number one, I was a kid that got results. I wasn't a one-hit wonder. So I look back now, I was always included and never excluded. That makes sense?
Yeah.
A lot of it comes from my results. A lot of it comes from being grounded behavior. I was no better than anyone else, right? Just being humble about it because it was all grateful things. Again, I was put in a position with all the right people around me to keep me on track, to keep me within the rails of bike racing, training, and having a life as a kid. Forget that, right? You know what I mean? We traveled. So the budget for the national team was a big deal because not like the national team now, we spent our whole summers in Europe racing. The kids don't get that now. Our national team program doesn't have that for the kids now. And there are races in Europe, little ones, big ones. But for us in the 80s, racing in Belgium, Czechoslovakia, all those Eastern Bloc countries, along with the Western Bloc countries, it was a mini world championships every other weekend, these little tournaments, these little bike racing tournaments. And that's, and all of us as kids, met up at the Olympics 4 years later. You know,
Do you have any
granted
good?
the Russians and East Germans.
Yep. Do you have any good training stories that anything funny or just something memorable that happened during training with your teammates? Either Mark Gorski or somebody else that comes to mind?
The only funny story I have is I can share now is the Goodwill Games in Moscow. The Goodwill Games in Moscow. We were in Hungary somewhere. The sprinters. The pursuiters were coming from some other race, Italy. I don't know where they were coming from. They came via Sweden. We came through, I can't remember how we came into Moscow. I think it was Helsinki, you know, back in those days. Like they came in through Sweden, Helsinki, Sweden. So we get to the Rossiya Hotel, which is great room, great hotel room. Me and Gorski are roommates. Steve Haig is next door. Our room overlooks the Red Square. It is 4th of July in Moscow. 4th of July, America, but we're in Moscow. Steve Haig bought fireworks in Sweden and brought them to Russia. And I'm sure the viewers are smiling now. You know what's up with this. It's not like, oh my God, we can't do that. It's like, how are we going to set these things off? So now our minds are spinning. We're in a hotel room and we're shooting bottle rockets out the hotel window over Red Square. Oh boy, did the police come.
Oh my.
Oh, I can think about it now. I'm sure it's a different story if Steve Haig or Gorski said it. But the police come knock on the door, and you can see the sulfur was in our room, the smell, but we wouldn't let him in. Then boom, boom, boom. Boomba, boomba. We turned on the music box. I had a big jukebox with D batteries. Turn on some hip hop music. Boomba, niet. No. Boomba, boomba. And we start a racket, tennis racket, Yvonne Lindell. Yeah, Delmore. Anyway, everything calms down. We got the smoke out of the room, and that was the laughter of the day. But we shot off bottle rockets and whatever those balls are in the tube that shoots out, like they wouldn't stop, and we were already busted. But we had a great time.
I will share with you. We did this July 4th, and I was in a suburban neighborhood in Del Mar, New York, and you'd have the sewer. It was kind of like on one side of a circle cul-de-sac and the houses, and we would use that as the bunker, and then somebody be on the other side of the grass circle, where you're on the cul-de-sac, and we would just have that little tube and just kind of fire them at each other, and
really
it was exciting. It was exciting.
Interesting.
So now let's go back to you. You get up. Well, talk to us a little bit about your relationship with Mark over the years. You guys took silver and gold, and great moment for U.S. cycling. And I think really sort of added some not only interest, but just sort of a spark to the whole U.S. cycling program. I think that was one of the things.
That was, sorry to interrupt you. It was the entire national team. So Gorski and I were two main players in the soap opera, as far as being the selected sprinters, but you had the endurance riders, and you had the road riders, and everyone on the national team was so successful. The women were great. The road team women, they got gold and silver as well. That launched it with Alexi. But all these guys turned out to be Tour de France stage winners, things like that, Tour de France team members. And that was a great era for our team that, it continued on for the next generation. Then it died down, but now we got a new generation of cyclists.
Was it collegial with the road riders and the sprinters, or was there a rival, sprinters, road riders? Or how did
No. Eddie B had a nice strategy. We all cohabitated together. One thing I do remember that his strategy was, it was only like 4 sprinters, 6 sprinters. but he would team us up with the Road Riders, so I would get to sit on the Road Riders' wheels. I just remember that. We go for if the Road Riders had to ride 100 miles that day, we rode 50 miles. We rode 40 miles sitting wheels, and then we had to come back by ourselves. The sprinters. But you had a group of road riders, and that was like our motor pacing per se. You sit on the wheel, stay out of the wind, and just pedal. It's time in the saddle. And these were early season road miles. All these things helped for the endurance, for the rest of the season, for pedaling. And again, I don't think our kids, our sprinting team today, I don't think they have any endurance to do 100 Ks.
So
Things like that.
in the aftermath of the Olympics, without getting it too long, but any career highlights that memorable moments that you had, and then more importantly, I want to know what the transition was for Nelson Vails after the Olympics. How do you top that with your life, and how do you make your life meaningful after reaching that? I know that a lot of athletes, they have that bright supernova moment, right? And then some are able to carry it through and find other aspects of their humanity that they want to develop, and others unfortunately don't have that capacity to be able to have a second act.
Well, for me, number one, the transition was pretty smooth. For me, lucky again, a lot of it came from results, which hopefully opened a lot of doors along the way. But then again, I transitioned right into the
sponsorships. Nelson, did you get some fun?
it carried on until the last year, pretty much when the market started to tank. I had a lifetime sponsorship with Raleigh until that became no more, till that brand was gone. That was a nice contract from those guys. That was a nice blessing. But, for me, having this memorable moment and then the transition from the cycling to a real job, that transition came into play. And I left the industry for a little bit and then came back from the workplace because I found there was a nice niche for me, such as the recreational side. So now I'm that professional bike racer that now rides recreationally and do grand fondos, stop at the rest area. I don't have to post a real time anymore. Been there, done that. So that's the transition now, what brings me up to what I'm doing now, if I can fast forward. And for all our listeners out there, I host bike rides and parties. So it's nice if you can come join us if you like to travel and you have a nice bike and you and your partner want to go someplace nice. You can ride your bike with me and make history. It's called GFNY, Grand Fondo, New York. GFNY.com. Visit that website, GFNY.com. Visit it, pick a spot somewhere around the world you'd like to join us. Come ride your bike or come race your bike, but you can be a pro for a day. We give you a jersey, we dress you up, and we put you on the start line and send you on your way, and we see you when you come back.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you have that, and then I also understand that you're coming up. You have a charitable event up in New Paltz, I think, right?
Yes, that's coming up in June. My first participation with the team up there. We're going to do a ride for mental health. And so the team up there in New Hope, New York, I look forward to it. I've already gotten a bunch of messages from people that have done that ride in the past. And I, along with a colleague, Wayne Stentner, a longtime friend, cyclist, he got me involved. And so I look forward to riding with him again and meeting a lot of great folks for this great event. And it's really fundraiser. I mean, it's a great fundraiser, and it's dear to my heart because, I have the privilege to wake up every day and have no troubles. I can get on my bike, I can get on a plane, and then a lot of these folks with mental health issues, you don't have that luxury to be able to do things of what we're doing now as we speak here.
Sure. Well, funny you bring up Wayne Stentner. I know he is part of, I went to Indiana University, and he is part of that Little 500 folklore. I think they
Yeah.
developed something called at one point the Wayne Stetner rule at Indiana University, in that he was so accomplished before he entered the university that I think I can't remember the exact sequence if he was allowed to ride that 1 year or what, but they subsequently didn't want to have any ringers, I guess, in the little
Yeah.
500. Yeah.
Right. See,
Have you?
and he already had him and his brother already had the natural talents.
That's right.
Yeah, for the little five. And now still today the little five you have ringers because all the kids race bicycles.
Well, sure, sure. And I interviewed on my podcast Judah Thompson, great young man. He's with the Real Cutters team, from the mythologic Cutters from the movie Breaking Away. Have you had a chance to watch a couple of those little five races?
No, not at all. I know they pop up on the YouTube feed
You
every
got to
now
get
and
to
then. I'll
one
come
because
across it.
I think other than the Olympics that you did at the track, I mean, road race is strung out. There is nothing like having, 25, 30,000 college students, on some of the more peak races in that, above
See,
you. It's gladiatorial. It's truly, it gets your hair standing, on your arms.
it
It's,
makes for a great tradition for the school. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it really does.
Yeah.
Someday maybe I'll get a chance to go back and witness it, but I never raced it. I never went to the university. I was already advanced from that. But I did get a chance to see one race. That I had a chance to spend a weekend in down there.
Cool. Well, listen, Nelson, anything else that you want to leave viewers with? I'll let you have last word.
Okay, viewers, you have like your viewers. You got fit for you. So what are we talking? People that are doing exercise. What kind of
Yeah,
listeners do we have
exercise,
out
and
there?
also, I mean, one of the things I didn't get on this. It sounds like you had a pretty clean path there with your Olympic pursuit. A lot of my guests have had injuries or something that they've had to overcome. It looks like you were fortunate on your bicycle that you didn't have any major crashes or things that hampered you and that you had to, work back to. But
Again,
that is another theme that I look for if people have, and the best way, I guess, to maintain health. And that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because you're how old now, Nelson, if you don't mind sharing?
64. I'll be
So
65 this year. Yeah,
six,
I was blessed that I didn't have injuries. The very few crashes I've had are not memorable because I don't crash often. Um, Pretty swift Jedi master, I might say about myself.
and
But
what about sustaining for the length of time you've did to have the stamina at 64 to do these rides, some of your rides, riding with Nelson when it's maybe 98 degrees in Baltimore and 90% humidity. How have you managed
well,
to?
you got ride bike because I ride recreationally now. I don't have to race anymore. I
Mhm.
don't have a team car. I enjoy taking pictures at the rest areas, fun things like that. So I'm so recreational now that I enjoy riding my bike, and I tell people all the time, if you ride too fast, no one sees you.
That's awesome.
So
Awesome.
so when you go past me, you say hello and you keep going. Go around, bitch, on the bike path. You know,
Well,
I'm
I
holding the
got, I
bike
got
lane, just go
another
around.
I got another famous bike riding quote that Mark Twain said, and I like to use it. He said, "Ride a bike, you won't regret it if you live," and that's I think particularly notable nowadays if you commute,
Mm-hmm.
through urban suburban areas even. So
Yeah,
I do wish that cars would respect. Cyclists a little bit more than they do. And in some areas they do. They have bike lanes, but in as you know, even with bike lanes, you'll have just cars that are oblivious, and all it takes is a
true,
nanosecond. You're taken out.
true that. So I'll end with some advice to your listeners out there. Here's something that's just totally off the wall. This is just something I learned back in my winning days. Um, Most people can test this out. They can try it out. I know it works for me, And everybody's wondering, what the hell?
Yeah, lay it
Listen, for
on
you
us.
folks that are doing exercise, any one of you out there doing exercise, whether you run, walk, or in the gym with your headphones on or whatever like that, the thing is, it's most important, and you got to test it out. If whatever you are listening to, stop listening to it. Okay? You got your headphones on. You got to find some earthy sound, kind of elevator music for your 45 minutes or your 1 hour workout in the gym, walking, riding your bike. You have to tone it down. I use the word have to. It was taught to me because when you play, you pump you up, bang your head music to get pumped up, bomb, 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 bomb. In between sets, you're so busy going like this that your heart rate never gets a chance to rest. Because you're too busy on that, oh, I love this tune. Boom, okay, I'm going to start lifting. Meanwhile, you didn't go to go 100% again. And if you listen to soft music when you work out, walk, or listen, Enya, Yanni, something like that, I guarantee you will have 100% output every time. But if you play that hard music and do 10 reps and play the soft music and do 10 reps, see how much better you feel in between your recovery.
Well, I love it, Nelson. That is definitely a Jedi master trick. I'm thinking Yoda here.
Yeah, but people go, yeah, right. I love it because people say, what are you listening to? It's like, it's going to make you cry if you hear what I'm listening to. It's like, what is this? It's like, my heart rate's low. And that's what it was for my Olympic years, my world championships. You know, when you had the Sony Walkman and everything else, I had soft music because that's what I was taught in the gym. In the gym, they had CNN around the world in 30 minutes. So you knew when you repeated that exercise, 30 minutes had already passed from the news. They didn't have music in the gym.
I got one more pop culture question. Does and I think I asked you this, but I'm really going to ask you. Does Spike Lee have that character in the film if Nelson Vails doesn't come up out of Harlem and get Olympic silver from that movie?
Nah, I don't know anything about that one.
I think
Nah,
it
it
was
wasn't mentioned
he
to me.
played some bike messenger, and she's got to have it. I think you got to check it out.
I would have to watch She's Gotta Have It again, but
Yeah.
that's
Well,
something.
I
That
just
was,
thought because he was from New York that maybe he knew your story, but
he probably
maybe,
does. I'm sure he knows me if we was to run into each other, but we haven't had a chance to shake hands to go any further.
yeah. Well, look forward, and I may get a wild hair and meet you up in New Paltz. I'll have to see what my schedule is. But thank you.
All
You're
right.
very gracious for your time, Nelson. I
Well,
think you
thank you.
impacted a lot of young people and a lot of cyclists from our era, closer to our era, that will be interested in hearing your story.